Hey, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Brooke, and if you're new here, this is a channel where I talk about my houseplants and do different DIYs and things. So if that interests you, take a minute and subscribe to my channel now. I'll wait. And if you are a recurring viewer, thank you so much for coming back and watching another video. So today I wanted to do I don't even know what. It's like a plant wish list, basically, that I've had ongoing for probably 2 years now. And slowly over those 2 years, I have checked plants off of my list. And actually, this past year, I checked them all off of my list. And so I wanted to take a look back at them because I don't ever think I've talked about like the plants that I wanted to own or wished to own on here before, and just take a look. And there's the cat, per usual. And take a look and see which ones I have and rate them for you. Because some of them I wish that I didn't have on my wish list. But if you have been on my channel before, I don't really have a wish list, particularly because I don't wish for plants. I don't know how that makes sense, but I don't go out and buy these highly expensive plants or really seek after them, I guess. I just add plants to this list as like, ooh, that's a really cool plant. Like, I'll put it on this list. And if I ever come into contact with that in the wild, because I don't order plants online. I have before, just as a fun gimmick thing, that it was like $10 whatever purchase plants. But typically I don't purchase plants online, and I really like to see them. It's like a fun, like treasure search, if that makes sense. It's like, if any of these plants I saw in the wild, I would for sure get. And that's kind of what these plants are. And so all of these plants, besides one, I have seen in the wild, and I purchased them. And so I'm going to be taking a look through them and just, again, rate them based on my experience and I guess. Maybe I should base this rating on the ease of the care and how much I like them. So yeah, we'll get into that. The first one on my list, this one has been on my list for like 2 years. And it was a plant that I thought was really interesting. I've never seen anything like it. Very fascinating plant, but it was not it was not easy to come by. And I really never saw any of them in person. I honestly had no hopes of ever owning this plant. It was just one of those cool plants that I had seen online and thought, yeah, if I ever saw that in person, I would for sure purchase that. And I saw it in person finally, actually on my birthday 2 years ago, and I decided to purchase it. And that was the Philodendron tortum. This guy, 2 years running. So I purchased this plant in a 4-inch pot. And again, the foliage is nothing like you have seen before on a plant. Actually kind of reminds me of a palm a bit, but it is a philodendron. It's just the way that the foliage looks. Super funky, interesting way that it grows and how the leaves unfurl. It looks like a little skeleton. It's kind of creepy. Some people really don't like it. Just like they don't like cats. But I thought it was very interesting and a very unique plant. But this guy, again, 2 years ago I got this, and it has been like this. I cannot figure out the care. The care is going to be a 3 for me because it is so hard to figure out what it likes and what it doesn't like. And I have not been able to care for it well at all. If that is any proof right here. It has lost every single leaf that it had, and it has produced maybe 1 leaf. I think that this is the oldest leaf here. And if you see, it's pretty yellow. This, I believe, is the only leaf it pushed out in my care in 2 years. And this growth point, I mean, if you look back on videos, I have repotted this guy, and you will see that it has looked exactly like that and has not changed. I really like the plant. I think that the foliage is fun. It's a 10 on that side, but it's a 3 on care and its overall planty self. But that is my Philodendron tortum. However, I like the plant so much, and I think it's super interesting. And I had no idea that the tropical plant line, that you see in Home Depot and all of that stuff, couldn't tell you what it's called, can't remember. Trending Tropicals, maybe that's it. They have Philodendron tortums. Didn't know this. I hadn't been to a grocery store, Target, like Lowe's, Home Depot in quite a while, I will be honest, like months. And so I walked into Target a couple weeks ago and this was just there. Look at that. Look at that. So what is this called? So this is the Costa Farms, okay? So Costa Farms, again, you can find them in your big box stores. But look how beautiful that is. Like they were full baskets and this was $20. I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for that tortum right there because it was triple the price. You can figure that out. But $20, I thought, let's try this again because it's already well established versus the other one was not well established, I guess. But it has multiple growth points on this. That's why I also was like, we can do this. So I am going to keep this in my north facing window and see how it does. I kept this guy under a Barina grow light. I thought that it didn't like that. And so I removed it from the Barina grow light into a southwest facing window. Didn't like that. I moved it under a Sansi 35 watt light, like 8 feet above it, okay, or below it. It seemed to like that. This growth point grew by like a centimeter and then it stopped. And so I was like, I don't know. And so we're just going to set that guy to the side and we're going to try out this one. But it's such a fascinating plant. Again, looks quite similar to a palm. And I can't tell you which palm. It's not a Majesty palm or anything like that, but there's a smaller, more compact version that I see often in the stores and they have a bulb on them. Maybe you can figure it out. But yeah, I'm going to say a 3 out of 10 for this plant. And I probably wouldn't put it back on my plant wish list. That one I feel like was my most disappointing one because it's such a cool plant and I really liked it. And again, for so long, I just looked for it. And once I found it, I was so excited. And it was just such a letdown. So that one, bummer. But the next one, no, actually the next two are a bummer. Dang. Okay, we're getting all the bummer ones out. I thought it was the exciting one. But the next bummer one is my philodendron variegated heartleaf. This thing right here. This is another disappointing plant. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10 because I cannot figure out its care. So if anybody has any tips also while going through these top 3 disappointing plants on my wish list, leave them in the comments, please, because I'm very keen on hearing them. But this plant I loved. I thought that it was so beautiful. Hadn't seen a lot of it online. And then, they started showing up a lot more in the online plant shops. And I did contemplate purchasing this actually. And it was just so expensive. I think that's why I don't purchase houseplants online, is just because of the cost of them. With the shipping and all of that goes into them, they are just more. And so I waited and I purchased 2 for $15 at a store near the Houston area. And this was last February or so. And it's just, again, a disappointment. It does not grow like a normal philodendron heartleaf, which, I love my neon. If you have been to this channel, that is one of my top plants. It's just your regular old philodendron neon. Love that plant. It is a fantastic grower, such an easy to care for plant. Solid 20 out of 10. Love that plant. This plant is just slow growing. Don't really know what it wants. And I can't give any more detail than that because it's really, I just don't know what it wants. I have this sitting under my Barina grow lights. And at first I thought, okay, maybe it's like the philodendron tortum. It doesn't want that much light. However, my other variegated plants that are, again, not a normal variegation, the rare uncommon ones, they love high light. And the more light you give them, the better the variegation. So that's why I immediately just stuck it under high light, didn't try anything else. This guy, no, I don't know what he wants. I really don't. I want him to grow, but it does not grow. So I water it once the soil is dry, which I'm thinking it's not a fan of that either. So I have been trying to be more consistent and water it before the soil reaches that point. It doesn't always happen with me because I am a notorious underwaterer. And yeah, I think it's got dry rot now because the leaves are just all yellowing and falling off. The new growth is extremely small, so that tells me that it's missing something, nutrients wise, something, because I just stopped fertilizing it as well, because I really just didn't know what it wanted. I did propagate it, and it was easy to propagate, so I do have some propagations of it right here, and the variegation on it is really pretty, and a pretty, like, I would say high variegation. I know the lighting is awful, but pretty high variegation on all of the leaves, versus this plant is not giving me the high variegation on every leaf. It's more like every other leaf. And that's okay. Like, I'm okay with a plant not being completely variegated and, that way. That's fine. I'll take a mix. It's okay. But I just don't know. This is the variegation I get. It's yellow leaves. This is what the leaves started out as. So if that's a good reference to you of what they are now, which is this little baby, I just truly don't know what it wants. So again, it's a 3 out of 10 for me. I did recently repot it because I thought, okay, I'll repot it because it was getting really root bound. And that didn't do anything, it just acted the same way. And so again, these are the leaves that I'm getting, these tiny minuscules. And you would think maybe that's a pest, but I have no idea because I don't see anything. I have cleaned the leaves. I've treated it. I've sprayed it down with Jack's Dead Bug Brew multiple times. There's nothing there. So I don't know what this plant is doing. But yes, this was another plant, just a disappointing wish list plant. I'm thankful I didn't spend like $60 on it plus shipping, because that's what it was at one point when I was looking. But yeah, and that's particularly why I don't purchase plants online. So I'm very scared that I'm going to get the plant. It's not going to act the way I want it to act or be what I thought it would be. And then it's just going to be a waste of my money. So that's why I like to wait until I find them in person. But yeah, any tips on that? Because this is just junk to me. Okay, I'm just being real honest. Look at that dead leaf. It's just not awesome right now. Now the next one I don't have to show you because it just completely died. And that is my Philodendron El Choco Red. I actually did love my El Choco Red. I purchased it, I purchased it after my tornum, so it was probably around the same time, so 2 years ago. And it actually grew really, really well. It is a velvet philodendron, and typically with those, you get the pests and all of the issues. I actually didn't get that. Just once I got it established and it started to grow well, all of a sudden it just started to die quickly. I don't know what it is. It must be my underwatering. I don't know that it liked that very well, because I treat all my plants the same. I let them dry all the way out. I forget about them for a couple weeks, then I remember, then I forget again, and then I water them. And so some plants do not do well with that, and I think that this was just one of them. I think that I got dry rot and just started to die off, because as soon as it started to get larger, I did have to repot it several times and pot it up and just consistent with my watering. And I think that I became so inconsistent with it that it just died off. I did try to propagate it and save the plant. However, then it got spider mites. And actually, if you watch my first video from this year or second video, I'm not really sure, but I had a orchid update video. I pulled a propagation from my orchid propagations and it had spider mites on it. And it was my El Choco Red, and it was the last living piece of it that I had, and it had not rooted. I had it there for several months. And so it was not an easy plant to propagate by any means. Every single propagation that I had died. I tried water and perlite, so maybe sphagnum moss would have been better, but what I was doing just wasn't working. And so I kind of would like to try that plant again. I do think that it's a beautiful plant. Far easier to take care of than like a melanochrysum or a splendid or a verrucosum, 100% easier than a verrucosum, but you still get those great velvet leaves. I definitely would try that one again. I do think that it is more pest resistant, at least in my care, because I've had a melanochrysum, I have a splendid, I have had the verrucosum. All of them have gotten pest issues or pests. particularly spider mites. And so I didn't think that it was that difficult to care for. Way easier to size up on the leaves, quicker grower than again a varicosum or a melanochrysum or the splendid. So that part was awesome. It was just, again, I think my bad habits of killing it off. But that is one plant that I think I would try again. Unfortunately, I have not seen those. And again, I haven't been to a plant store in 6 months, so I couldn't tell you. But I haven't seen those as of lately. I did find, no, those were varicosums. Never mind. So yeah, I haven't found the El Choco red in 2 years, I guess, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yep, that's the El Choco red. On to the plants that are actually good and I like and I'm excited about. So the first one being is this Philodendron Patriciae. So I shared this on my recap of where are they now plants, but this is one plant that had been on my wish list for probably 4 years, maybe. This plant I saw, and I don't know the person's name or like handle, but maybe I'll try to find her because she is on YouTube and that's where I saw it. But years ago, I saw this woman had a beautiful, and actually had multiple beautiful Philodendron Patriciaes, and she would mount them on wood, and maybe you know who I'm talking about, but they were really beautiful, and I immediately was drawn to them just by the long leaves and the way it grew. It's just really fascinating. It's not a leaf that you typically see on your philodendron. I have seen many anthurium like this, but it was just super unique and a beautiful plant. Now this one, it is getting a little bit leggy. It definitely needs something to climb, but I have not had any issues with this. So this plant is a 10 out of 10 for me. I purchased this in Florida. They imported it because they told me, and I thought I was going to have issues with the humidity and keeping the water right, but I have not had any. I use my normal like water out of the sink. Do not treat it any special sort of way. Don't give it humidity. I just have it sitting under my Sansy clip light and it does extremely well. I have been really happy actually with how this plant has grown, and it has grown a lot in my care. It's pushed out these 3 new leaves and it has a 4th one on the way. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. It's pushed out 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's on its 5th leaf in my care. And so I have high expectations for this going well or continuing to go well. Okay, so high expectations, but it has been a really easy to care for plant and just a really fun plant. Now I will give you, the leaves are not as long as they started out. They are a bit smaller, but I think that that's kind of typical when you are transporting a plant and then bringing it and acclimating it into your home. It's going to take a minute to regrow it. And I think another big reason why they're not that large is because I do not have this on a moss pole. I don't have it to where it can climb into something and grow those larger leaves like this. So I don't know if they grew it on a moss pole or what, but this plant, either way, has been really fun to watch grow. And a bit, sorry, I just thought I saw a scale. I was going to freak out. It's a perlite. Anyways, but it's been a pleasure to watch grow. And I think that it's a really fun, unique plant. Again, I don't see these in stores ever. The only place that I could find them to import them from was like $200 to import them. So I knew I was never going to probably own one. However, I purchased this at Succulents Empire. There we go. In Orlando, Florida last year on my vacation. I will continue watching this grow and being satisfied with my purchase. Next one is another philodendron. Shocking, but it's the last philodendron that I had on my list. And that is the Philodendron Burley Marks. So I have the variegated Burley Marks and I love it. I found it, in 2023, in the beginning of the year. And it's just such a fun, easy, variegated plant to care for. And so I really wanted to add the unvariegated version to my plant collection. However, I did not know that they were like not a thing. And so I found one in 2023, there we go, 2023 in Florida, shocking, but it was in a gallon pot. And so I could not bring the gallon pot back with me. And I've shared this just on my previous video, but I went back last year in 2024 and it was there. I had, been to multiple plant stores since then and I had never seen just an unvariegated Burley Marks. And so I thought if it's still there at that store, it was an Ace Hardware, I'm going to get it. And guess what? It was. And so I did bring it back home with me. I took all the soil off. I tore it all down and I might have a video on this, but I'm not really sure. And it's doing extremely well. 10 out of 10 plant. So easy, fun, bubbly, the most bizarre growing pattern. I've shared this many times before, but new growth points like this plant, you can see this is one plant. If I were to cut it and then propagate it, it could be 2 plants. But the Burley Marks, they just continuously grow out of every single point. Like there's a leaf here. You won't get another leaf until the next node on typical plants. But with a Burley Marks, you could have literally 6 leaves or 6 new stems come out of one node. It's super fascinating. I'm not sure why it does it. I really haven't researched the plant much. I just think that they're fun and bubbly. And they have the same leaf shape as the philodendron, wow, I just lost it, Jose Bono to me. They're a little bit more bubbly and round than the Jose Bono. But it's meant, or a Paraiso Verde, that's what I was looking for, a Paraiso Verde. They are a little shorter and again, like squishier, little like fun, bubblier plant. But I have really enjoyed watching it grow. And I just have it actually sitting in this wall right here, which is a north facing window, down by my greenhouse shelving unit. So I have not given it the greatest amount of light because there are several other plants in my shelving unit that cover the light going to this plant. So it really does get a low light coming from the window, but it seems to do really well and it is constantly growing. And so it is there up with my favorite plants of my Burley Marks variegated, which I have a big one of that as well. But yeah, 10 out of 10 for that plant if you ever see it. All right, my last plant, and this one I actually did not import. I purchased online, sorry, because I knew I was never going to find this plant for this cost, and I just decided to YOLO it. And I did, and it is the Monstera aurea. So last year, at the very beginning of the year, I ordered a Monstera aurea from Hidden Seed Plant Co. I just talked about this plant on my channel as well. And I shared how I cut it all down and I've propagated it and every single propagation has taken. And this is just one of the propagations. So this is not the mother plant. The mother plant actually sits on the top of this shelving unit and it gets light from a CNC clip-on light. This one gets light from a Barina grow light that I have under these cabinets as well. And it does extremely well. I have not had any problems with growing this plant. I will tell you that it is a slow grower, so you have to be very patient with this, especially if you're propagating it. My propagations took, I think I said in that video, did I say it? I mean, 9 months possibly to grow to any sort of like it showing that it was growing. So it did take a really long while, but the outcome was well worth it. So I purchased this again online as a imperfect plant. And that's how I knew I was going to, or the only way realistically that I would be able to afford one of these plants, because if you are on the hunt for one, it is an expensive plant. It is a rare, uncommon plant and the variegation on it. But I bought it all in for $125 and I am satisfied with that plant purchase. Would I purchase another plant again online? It would probably have to be like this situation, but I love this plant. I think the variegation is very beautiful. I love the yellow and the green. I'm not a Monstera albo fan, but I am a Monstera aurea fan because of this variegation. And again, that's I think why I like the Burley Marks variegated so much, is because it has the same variegation. And I just purchased a Scindapsus aurea variegated, and I love it as well. And so this is a beautiful plant. I am so excited that I cut it back because again, it was an imperfect plant, so the variegation on it wasn't that great, and the leaf, like the overall leaf look wasn't awesome. It was damaged, which again, that's okay. That's sometimes just how they are. But once I cut it back, the variegation on every one of my plants and my cuttings has been this good. And so I do have one plant in a north facing window, and it already has a fenestration on one of its leaves. It's got 3 leaves, the most out of all of my propagations, this being the second highest leaf count, which is 2. But I really love this plant. I think that it's very beautiful. And so far it's been really easy to care for. I don't give it any sort of humidity, and I water it once the soil is dry. It doesn't seem to mind going without water, like some of my other more, I almost said prissy, but they're more, exotic, uncommon plants like this. But it does really, really well in my cabinet and in my home. So that is a plus. So that one is a 10 out of 10. I would definitely, if I had the opportunity, to purchase it again. And I have seen these in store actually, at the Irving Green Acres. It's just, unfortunately, they're too expensive for me. But again, and I'm talking like $300 for a small plant. But this guy was well worth it. So those were my most wished for plants, or on my wish list. And as you can see, that wish list took 2 years to fill and complete, but that's okay. I'm satisfied with most of my purchases. Some of them, we'll get there. We'll see what happens with them, like this. I might end up just chopping it all back and trying again. We don't know. Do we? I don't know. But you can leave your comments below on which plants are on your wish list, and if you have any tips and tricks for the plants on my, not satisfied with my wish list plants. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.